To start, hi, hello everyone.
Hi,
It
everybody.
is it's that time of the week. It's time for Geek Speak. Today we are talking about AI, how that's changing the face of marketing and what that means for people out there.
It's
Uh,
true.
and
Uh,
I would say, oh, I guess we should also introduce ourselves.
yes, but I wanted to say first that you have to share it in the Facebook group, please.
Yeah.
And artificial intelligence is revolutionizing and fundamentally transforming. Oh, look, I'm reading how businesses engage with their customers. Basically, AI is revolutionizing marketing, and so we wanted to talk about that today. And we were in a rather heated discussion before we got on here about AI. So if you're joining us today, pipe up, say hi, let us know if you're using AI. We're gonna get into it. We know, on the replay. Make sure you say something. I'm sure people will be hopping in here in a minute or two.
Yeah.
Um, and so, as long as you shared it, is it good?
Yeah. It's been shared.
Perfect. So yeah, today's a good one, right? It's a gooder because
Yeah.
we're talking all about. I'm gonna try to find it. We're talking all about AI, and I don't know if you've been using it. Have you? What have you used it for, Phelan?
So a lot of the stuff that I've used it for is like base first draft content creation. The Probably the best use case, which I'll get into more in a bit, is the like Microsoft Clarity and getting it to summarize the screen recordings for me to make an actual step. So taking all these recordings that individually watching them would kind of suck. It kind of can go through them and summarize how people were clicking on the website.
Mm,
So um, but I would say, just to circle back to what we opened the bit, I think that uh, we look at how that's going to affect the markets and jobs. I think slightly differently. I think that
yes, we do.
so I look at it as like which industry overall is going to get totally precaritized, which means that what they do is they fire everyone and then they rehire you as like a prompt engineer. Uh,
Ooh, a prompt engineer. That's new.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's specific to dealing with AI and how to prompt it to get the response that you need. So the two biggest industries that that's happened to is game development and support,
so
right?
far, yes.
Well,
So where, yeah,
but they're on the edge, right? Like that's the whole reason is they were the ones that were already pushed for this. And so
uh,
my suspicion is that a lot of the other industries that we expect it's going to tear through, I think it'll decimate in the most definitional sense. Decimate is a Roman punishment that if their army failed or ran away, you would form up and every 10th person would get killed.
oh,
So
okay.
decimate, right?
Okay.
Dessa meaning
Okay,
10th.
so you think that, yeah, okay, so we have very different views because you're looking at from more of a political standpoint and I'm looking at it from a marketing standpoint. Oh, I'm blurry on this. That's weird.
On
Hold
which
on. Oh, on in the interview window. Just
you
gonna
look
make sure.
you look fine on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's just very funny. Um, I don't know. Yeah, so I'll just I'll just leave that. But okay, yes. AI is a lot and looking at it from a political standpoint is important, but every person that loses their job or everything that it changes affects a lot of people. So and it can be really exciting and I think we the people want to position ourselves where we win, right? Where we win, we have jobs, we work on things. So um, that's why I've gotten really into it. I think it's really fascinating. And we wanted to talk all about what's going on. Like, what are you? So tell me what you're using it for, and then I'll tell you what I'm using it for. And if you're here joining us, pipe in, say hi. Um, and if you're using AI, tell us what you're using it for with. And yes, I have comments put up. I think I'm organized. So, Phelan, what are you using it for?
Yeah. So I'd say the best use case for using AI is what it was originally intended for, which is regressive analytics. What I mean by that is like you give it a big table of a bunch of data and say, find me some interesting points in here. Um, and so
Interesting.
that's what its best use case is. Where
For
originally,
you.
well, no, I mean that in the sorry, in the sense when I say that, I mean that in the sense of people who are AI engineers
Mhm.
and what they say is the best use case for it.
Okay, interesting.
Because generative things, creating things, it because it's built off of a regression model that just does a bunch of analysis on finding like little differences, it actually just averages things out. So when you get it to generate something, it's going to generate the average of that because what it was meant to do in the first place, which is reduce things to an average.
Mhm. Um, okay, interesting. So, but it does a lot of things for us now. It is helping us write. It
Yeah,
is, helping us analyze. It is doing like it's helping us be faster. So,
yeah,
more engaged in the sense that you have more time. It's more personalized. Um, so the benefits are enhancing customer experience, right? And making better decisions. Now, I haven't used every AI out there because they're crazy right now, but
yeah,
we've created things like I on our website now. I don't think it's in the menu yet, but we've created um something to help us when we do Google Ads so we can show our clients, right?
yeah.
Um, which is really exciting. So, and so how else are you using AI?
I was going to get to the coding portion of it and getting it to write code, which for the most part, it's actually pretty good at doing that part. And the reason why is because it's you're giving it the parameters. So like, there's a Pablo Picasso quote that I always think about when times like this, where we're worried about AI stuff, is that computers are useless. They can only give you They can only give you answers,
Hmm.
meaning that it can't generate the question. Or you're required in the loop to be able to think up the thing that they would need to actually give you the answer about. And so,
Yeah, maybe, but you can ask a question. You can answer a question by asking a question. which
yeah, but
which which is what I mean. Yes, so there's a concept of the tail eating itself. I forget, there's a name for that.
Ouroboros.
Yeah, Orbers. However, like it does help with a lot of things. So before, like, I don't think there's a doomsday so much as I think it can be very helpful to people. I just think people need to get on it and start using it and implementing it into their lives, right? Versus shying away from it. But I've always thought that about technology because
Yeah,
I think you'll get left behind. Um, and I think throughout time, jobs have changed. People change what they do. So I would want to be a wielder of this, right? And try to understand it as much as possible. That's kind of
yeah,
where my theory is, and where we should be putting our time and engagement.
yeah. They're yeah. Well, I was just saying it more in the sense of like, you still need a person. There still needs to be a prompt generated by a person. No matter
It's
what these
true.
systems do, it's still going to require a person to ask it to do a certain thing. And that's kind of where the coding stuff is probably the most interesting one for me as a use case, is because I don't really want to bother with learning the syntax of Python. All I want it to do is generate like the result. So I'm less concerned about like how beautiful the code is. I'm more concerned about like, run the script, do the thing, and give me the result I want, which is good for dealing with like ChatGPT and getting it to write code or getting it to build small apps.
Hmm.
Really
Getting it to
complex.
fix itself.
Getting it to fix itself, understanding its own error messages that it's getting back, and fixing
Mhm.
those error messages is very useful. It
Putting
saves
the
me a lot of
machines
time.
together. That's what I've liked doing so far. Like, and I think, perplexity, we should bring up perplexity because it's kind of like I love it right now. I really like using it. I really like the interface. Yeah. So I think it's one of the great tools to use for um helping you because it does different things than ChatGPT, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely, and it does a better job at citing its sources compared to the ChatGPT. So at
Hmm.
least you have some sort of link that you could follow through to see if it's
Hmm.
completely making that up or not.
Well, we see that in search now, right? What's it called? SVG, uh,
SGE,
SGE.
search generated content.
Right. Okay. Yes. Search generated content. So we see it's changed. The search engine's changed. So you now get that. But because they didn't come out with it first, do you think that brand loyalty might be to something else, or is it about interface and how it works with you? Because I might actually not be one of the many in this. I might be one of the few, but I think Gemini is doing the best for like the AI stuff so far, like for how fast it is, how accurate it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a toss up between Gemini and Copilot, right? And uh
Copilot's just in things. Like I went to Copilot on its own and it
yeah.
wasn't like great, but it's great in like Zapier. And I don't know if it's in Make, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean it's Microsoft's offering and it's very similar to the Gemini but without being how would I put it? Like it's very similar in the sense of what Gemini wanted to do, which is kind of be in all of the tools that go with Google or Microsoft. It's their way of kind of inserting this additional layer that's supposed to help you
Hmm.
use Microsoft tools or Google tools, and it's supposed to extend them. Um,
Kind of like what was there was from this is gonna I'm old, okay, but do you remember? You might not even remember. Um, it was a little paperclip.
Clippy,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but Clippy was first, so it's like a Clippy
yeah. It's like Clippy, but not as like
old.
yeah, antiquated, and like it actually has some like
It's
reasonable.
so helpful in like in Zapier or Zapier.
Mm.
Honestly, it took all the fear of using it away. So,
Yeah,
um,
now that I'm thinking about it, because Copilot in Zapier, I don't know if
it's
it's powered by.
Microsoft in Zapier.
Yeah, yeah. That
Interesting.
I didn't look that up, but I'd be interested to see if there was like a partnership there.
Mm,
Because as far as I know, they're separate, but I could be entirely wrong with that.
you could be.
Which would be weird because they'd be using the branding from Microsoft, so that would be kind of weird on their part.
Yeah, I have no idea. You can look that up because I know you're always interested in who owns what and who owns who, and it's actually a very smart way to go about things because then you can see about what people are thinking about, what people are doing. One of the things that I want to do, I'm gonna maybe try
Yeah.
to do it this weekend, although I have a lot of other stuff to do. But AI powered chatbot. So um I want to put a chatbot on our computer, or sorry, on our website that actually integrates in real time to have conversation. So you can do that, right? You can attach, you can make on the back end, you can have a system where ChatGPT will be your assistant, right? The way you configure it. So if a question
Okay.
gets asked, it can look at either any documentation you have. You can tell it has to look at the documentation. So this is making a chat GPT, but on the API side, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
So,
sense.
and then you attach it to something you're doing, and then you can have it have a conversation, which is pretty neat. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, this stuff is so fascinating, right? So you've used it, I've used it, I think everybody's using it. But what are you like? You find it, I like it for code, but I don't know how to code. And I did do need you. I need you. But but for coding, because I don't understand downloading packets and things like that. And it gets pretty deep, right?
Yeah.
Really quickly. And so let's keep this kind of high level where we, you know, if you have a what is it, an idea for an app, we can direct you to a something that can try to create it for you for free to try it, right? That's one of my favorite ones so far.
Yeah. Though you're talking about Bolt.new, which
Hmm.
is Good, but it doesn't do anything with a backend. So I tried to get it to do something with a database.
I sent you something yesterday that I think does something with the database.
Yeah, it. So I yeah, I'm sure that they're working on some more solutions to do stuff with,
I'm sure they have
like a
some.
database and backends. I'm just warning people now that if you go into Bolt and try to get it to do anything that has like a storage or user login, anything like that,
Mm,
it won't be able to do that.
interesting. Which I am not. So I'm not that kind of expert. I'm the content marketer. You're the technical marketer. Um, in that I do, data driven strategies. I haven't actually used. There is personalization inside analytics, right? Um, and I'm sure Gemini is going to be in there in about 5 seconds if it's not already in there. But because I've stuffed data into chat gpt to get results, and I've made some chat gpts, and that's super fun and super easy, um, and very helpful to see what you can do, right?
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I don't know, I find it so exciting, like the personalization you can get out of it. So um, what are you finding most fascinating about it?
Uh, well, I think it's the one that I'm interested to see if I'm a little surprised that it hasn't been better is its integration into Google Ads. I was expecting the uh, like text generation and image. I didn't have my hopes up for their image generation, just because
Mm,
Gemini's kind of hit or miss with like image creation. It's not a strong suit. Um,
I agree with you on that. I haven't tried it actually. I'm using, oh my gosh, so I'm using, I wanted to share it. It's the kind of back end of Flux. And Flux is like an image creator. And
yeah,
then I found another one yesterday, um, from the guy I follow, Nico. And it, I forget, I made some really cute little elephant pictures. Which I really like. Honestly, I find the image creation really fun. I use it every couple days to make images because I completely suck at making images. Like, you give me, even if you
yeah.
give me a canvas, it doesn't. It just, I know people make fun of me about my image creation.
Yeah, I think that some of the AI image creations is okay for in small batches. I would say that for just getting some stuff out the door for blog posts and stuff where it's not like really the image is the focus. It's more like it's kind of like a visual representation of what's going on the page. And I think that that's not a bad use case.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
uh,
Perplexity uses Flux to create its images, and Chat GPT, it does its own images, and there are lots of GPTs trained. It uses DALI, right? That's its.
yeah, Dolly and Mid Journey
I don't know
is the
what
other.
Midjourney is.
It's its other system.
Mm,
Dolly's one of them, Midjourney's the other, and so they're just
mm,
image creation tools that kind of rival Flux, and they're all kind of the big names that you hear about when you go look up anything on like image generation AI stuff. Uh,
yeah, and yeah, we're getting really into this. So we are taking our course to integrate this stuff. So our SEO course and our Google Ads course. So we can talk about this because this is where it's going. I mean, there's lots of things to talk about here and lots of things to pay attention, but it's so crazy. I think how AI has taken over everything. I mean, I don't know. I use it. How many times a day are you using it? I'm using it all day, every day. To be
yeah,
honest.
yeah, we're using it a few times a day. Well, it's also like it's one other thing that I wanted to mention when you said SGE, the search generated pages, is that
Hmm.
what that is it's a new wrapper on what Google was already doing
So
because
yeah,
they
it's a new pretty picture, like a
yeah
new
it's
search engine results pages. Now I have to change everything to SV. What is it? SVG.
S SGE
Well, if I could get the acronym right, so is search. I thought it was search
Gen-
generated.
engine
Generated what?
engine
Yeah, interesting. And what does that in fact mean? It's a well, they had it in a sandbox, I know, for a number of years, and I know the US got it before we did. But
Yeah,
it includes Gemini into the search engine, right? And that's why the
yeah,
new layout is there. So,
yeah. But I mean, like the actual like code back end that actually
yeah.
is generating it, it's the same system. It's just like because they use what we call AI, they use already for doing it. They just give it parameters of when you search the web, these
It gets
things are the market.
updated. Yeah. The other
Uh,
thing is I have seen like in it that the ads are at the bottom of the page, they're not the top. So that's very interesting. I don't
yeah,
know if that's just my use case. And I've noticed that when I go to the URL and search, you know how you do, you go google.com or whatever.
yeah.
Um, it it doesn't use the SGE. It's still the regular SERP. Do I still call it a
Oh,
SERP?
I
Oh,
would. I mean, it's
yeah,
you searched a search engine and it gave you results on a page, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would still call
Yeah.
it that.
And I wonder, okay, so we're all using Chat GBT conversationally, right? And we're using
Hmm.
Perplexity like conversationally. And I don't know if I'm using Google conversationally yet as much. Like I still, I noticed if I search conversationally, sometimes I'll have to go to Perplexity or Chat GBT to get the answer, right?
Yeah, I mean, generally for my own sake, I'm not really asking Google like a set of questions in conversation. Usually, when I go to Google, it's like, a part for something in the house that broke that I need to replace. So I'm like,
Hmm.
typing in the name of this and like replacement arm, like that kind of stuff. That it's just more, it's very specific. Generally, I'm not really having a conversation per se.
Mm,
So like that's just a lot of how I use Google. It's like I
mm,
have a specific question, I go to Google and I get my answer. Um,
Okay, so are you doing informational searches on Google or transactional or navigational? I know you're probably doing all three, but
yeah, I'm doing all three to an extent. I mean, what I was talking about is like informational ones. I'm usually like have a specific question in mind that I go to ask Google. So it's not really a question per se. I don't really usually have follow ups. If
mm,
anything, I'm just clarifying my question or honing it in more so that it makes more sense the answer I'm getting out of Google. Um, like
hmm.
it's not really something I'm having a conversation per se with.
Okay, yeah, it's very conversational, so I assuming that long tail keywords are like going to be epic now, and that
Yeah.
number that went from like 17% or then it went to 25% every year is just skyrocketed. Right? Cuz yeah, I don't know. I think everybody's going to have so much fun searching now, and I think it's just brought some more liveliness to the search engines and to information. um I think everybody will learn a lot more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
think I
yeah,
think that there's going to be some good aspects. I think that when all the dust settles and the hype of like the VCs when they go on to the next thing, whatever that's going to be, I think that it'll like it won't be as numerous as it is now, but I think that
yeah,
it'll still be around. It's just going to be much smaller than it was.
yeah. I mean, I've heard things like, there's just so many things happening all at once that eventually it will come down, and like we're seeing open AI, so that people are creating open
Hmm.
sources for different things, and
Yeah.
that's really going to help it become democratized, right? So that we will all be using it to help us. I mean, yeah, it's it's kind of crazy. It's really neato. Um, I've seen like a automaton thing. I call it an automaton. I'm sorry, wrong about that. It's like you can create an assistant to help you do research. So, and you can watch it doing the research on your screen, on your computer, right? So I've seen that. That's really neato. I am not
Hmm.
there yet because I can't get that system up and running yet because I don't know enough. But I think we're in for a fun yet bumpy ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be interesting. Yeah, and I think when the sugar high of the VCs recesses, I think that's where it's really going to be interesting to see who can stand on their own without getting huge injections of cash from big
Hmm.
companies. So I think that's when I'll be interested to see how it all kind of settles. I think that for me, that's what I'm looking out for.
Mm, yes. So I was just thinking about something. So you're just thinking that it's gonna calm down and it's just gonna get
Uh,
normal.
yeah, I think it's going to be normalized and be like just not the forefront. Just like how crypto, I mean, Bitcoin's the highest it's ever been for the price, but it took a while to get there. But it's not the thing that people talk about as much anymore. People don't talk like on the average news about crypto and how it's going to replace everything. Um, and so I feel
Okay.
that it's going to be similar vibes because it's mostly again it's because venture capital is like doing a big injection of adrenaline into the system, and so all these people are like, oh yeah, yeah, using the money, and they're going really fast. But
Mm,
I'm just going to be interested to see when it all kind of settles and the adrenaline's worn off, how it's all going to shake out. I think that's where you could look like a genius when someone's handing you a check for $20 million and you're building a company. Like, yeah, that's super. You could look like a genius then. It's when you have to stand on your own 2 feet and really make the business sustainable and viable in the long term. What's that going to look like? And
mm.
so I suspect that a lot of those companies aren't going to be able to make ends meet, and they'll have
I
to.
think they're just I think the big players will win. There just might be a new big player, right?
Yeah.
If we look at say like Apple. So I've noticed, I don't have an Apple Siri at home. I mean, I do have it on my phone, but Google has a home, Alexa has a Nest. I don't know. I like
Oh, no,
Nest.
no, it's
Oh, not
Alexa. It's
Nest.
the
Alexa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's so what's Apple doing? Is Apple still a big player in all this because they have search, they determine on an Apple phone, wasn't there some regulation about what apps showed up on your phone
Well,
for
that
search?
it was more that they had a huge fight about with Epic Games about the paying out 30% of everything you earn in app. There's a 30% tax because
Hmm.
no one knew what to charge at the start of when it all the App Store happened. But it also it's become a duopoly, right? You cannot exist as an app unless you get onto one or two app stores. Apple
That's
and
true.
Google determine how you arrive there, and so that also gives them outsized advantages, right? They could
Hmm.
just say no, you don't meet the requirements, or um, we actually just decided you broke the terms of service.
So you have to
So
go.
yeah, so there's situations like that that are not the best, but yeah, I'd say that
But you can circumvent the app store. I mean, ish, not for a phone. So the other thing is the phone is very interesting because I'm not using AI as much on my phone yet, right?
yeah.
So I think that's to come too, right?
Or
Uh,
what does it look like, right? Like a lot of these
yeah.
are, it's probably going to be there, but it's going to like fulfill a specific role. Like that's the vibe that I feel like it's going to happen, where it's not going to be does everything for you. I think it's more
Oh
that
yeah.
like, hey, here's a specific task that it's going to be super helpful with doing.
I agree it's going to need an overseer. I agree like yeah, I mean, and I do agree that maybe there's a lot of money being thrown at it right now and there's a race to as many do figure it out, right, get
Yeah.
automations working. um so it's pretty interesting. So I think wielding it, I think being a business owner right now in this space is pretty interesting, but I think being a marketer working for a company, like a big company, might be fearful.
Yeah. I would definitely, if you're looking at a big organization, um, and you're Yeah, I would definitely be that would be the spot that I would be the most concerned with if you're a large organization and someone higher up is deciding to like make a big shakeup in order to make quarterly profits or whatever.
Mhm.
That's a position I don't envy someone being in because yeah, you might be at the whims of something totally beyond your control that your boss just decides to integrate it because it's a buzzword and they didn't really fully think through what it was beyond a buzzword. That
Mm.
part worries me to an extent.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I think the conclusion, oh, and we're out of time. The conclusion is that it's here. We should be playing with it. We should learn as much as we can if we're interested in it, and so that we
Hmm.
can be the wielders of it. That's where I'm sticking to for now. I'm going to be playing around more and more with this. I do use it to help me create like spreadsheets to upload to Google Ads Editor, things like that. I'm training my own chat GPTs. I do have a slide deck I was looking at that'll teach you really quickly. It's super easy how to create your own. So if you're interested in that, send us a message, and we'll show you that. The other things that, I mean, that is the conclusion, really. We can give some real life examples of some AI in marketing, but the real conclusion is, one of us is paying attention to the politics of it all, and the other is getting engrossed in doing things and trying these different things. And both perspectives are very valid and interesting because it all boils down to the same things, which is, are we going to get to work in this field? What are we going to get to do? And how fast
Hmm.
can we manage learning because it's changing a lot, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
yeah,
I
but
would agree
super
with.
fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say there's a lot of exciting things out there, and yeah, I would just say, uh, from my own perspective of like, I have tapered expectations of like what it's actually going to be able to do, and just be aware of what its limitations are because there's always limitations.
Always limitations. It's true. Next week, we are doing This Month in the World of Marketing, and Rena and Greg will be joining us. If you don't know me, I'm Pip, Seymour Digital Media, and this is,
Phelan, also with Seymour Digital Media.
and we get on here every week and talk about something to do with marketing, and we will see you next week, 11 a.m. Pacific. Bye.
See you. Bye.